Breanna Stewart is no stranger to the spotlight. Over the years, she has built a career filled with accolades, accomplishments, and clutch moments on the court. However, her recent announcement regarding Caitlin Clark wasn't just another move in her storied career. It was a statement, a loud one. People were already buzzing about Caitlin Clark, the up-and-coming star, but Stewart's words set the internet on fire. It wasn't just what she said, but the gravity it carried, coming from someone like Stewart, who has seen, done, and won it all. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The basketball world paused for a second when Breanna Stewart decided to publicly acknowledge Caitlin Clark in a way that few had before. It wasn't a casual shout-out or an obligatory good job. No, this was different. Stewart, usually measured and focused, seemed genuinely impressed. There was a certain weight to her praise that suggested Clark wasn't just another talented player, but someone who could potentially shift the dynamics of the game. Stewart knows greatness when she sees it, having lived and breathed it her entire career. So when she speaks, people listen. And this time, they really paid attention. Caitlin Clark, for those not yet familiar, is a force of nature on the court. She plays with a style that borders on reckless, but is laser-focused in execution. Her ability to pull up from practically anywhere beyond the arc and drain a three has fans shaking their heads in disbelief and defenders on their heels. But what sets her apart isn't just her shooting. It's the way she controls the game. Clark plays with an edge, a swagger that says she knows she's good, and she's not afraid to remind you. And it's that edge that caught Stewart's eye. Stewart's career has been defined by consistency and excellence. From her dominance at UConn to her WNBA MVP seasons, she's always been in control, always one step ahead. But even someone like Stewart, who thrives in the most competitive environments, can appreciate the rawness of Clark's game. In Clark, she likely sees a version of herself, a young player hungry to prove she belongs at the top. But the way Stewart talked about Clark wasn't just a nod to a younger player coming up the ranks. It felt like Stewart was passing the torch, or at least acknowledging that soon she might have to share the spotlight. What makes this announcement even more significant is the timing. Stewart, still in her prime, is making a point to highlight Clark's meteoric rise, while the spotlight remains firmly on her own career. It's rare for athletes, especially at Stewart's level, to so openly embrace potential competition. That's not to say she feels threatened. Stewart is far too confident for that. But there's a mutual respect here that transcends the usual platitudes. Stewart sees in Clark a game changer, and in doing so, she's reminding everyone that the future of women's basketball is in very good hands. The announcement also plays into something bigger. Women's basketball has been on the rise for years, but with players like Stewart and now Clark, it's entering a new era. Stewart, who has been at the forefront of this movement, understands the importance of elevating the game. By drawing attention to Clark, she's not only celebrating individual talent, but also signaling that the sport itself is evolving. Stewart has always been about the bigger picture, and in Clark, she sees someone who can push that vision forward. For Clark, hearing someone of Stewart's caliber speak so highly of her is undoubtedly a massive confidence boost. It's one thing to have the media sing your praises. It's another to have a player who's won championships and MVPs do it. It adds a layer of validation to Clark's already impressive resume. But knowing Clark, she's not one to let praise go to her head. If anything, it will fuel her to work even harder. Clark's competitive fire is part of what makes her so special, and hearing Stewart's comments will only stoke that flame. Stewart's decision to make such an announcement speaks to her character. She's always been someone who lifts others up, whether it's teammates, opponents, or the game as a whole. By putting the spotlight on Clark, she's showing that greatness isn't just about individual achievements, but also about recognizing and celebrating those who come next. It's a sign of true leadership, something Stewart has demonstrated time and time again. But beyond the leadership, there's also a bit of humor in all of this. Stewart, ever the cool and collected professional, couldn't help but let a little bit of her playful sideshow. There's an unspoken challenge in her words, almost as if she's saying, "All right, kid, let's see what you've got." It's not malicious, not even close, but there's a sense that Stewart is ready for the challenge. She knows that competition breeds greatness, and if Clark is going to push her to be even better, well, then she's all for it. As for Clark, you can imagine her reaction. Knowing her personality, she probably smiled, maybe even let out a small chuckle. She's confident, but she's also grounded. Clark isn't the type to be starstruck. If anything, Stewart's comments will only make her hungrier. She's the kind of player who thrives on competition, who loves proving people wrong or right. And now, with Stewart's endorsement, she's got all the motivation she needs to take her game to an even higher level. The announcement also sheds light on the growing camaraderie within women's basketball. In a sport that has often been overlooked, players like Stewart and Clark are building something special. They're not just competitors. They're part of a movement to elevate the game, to bring it the recognition it deserves. By publicly acknowledging Clark, Stewart is doing more than just praising a talented player. She's helping to build a legacy that will last for generations. It's also worth noting that this moment is about more than just basketball. Yes, Stewart and Clark are phenomenal athletes, but their impact reaches beyond the court. They are role models, particularly for young girls who dream of playing at the highest level. By highlighting Clark, Stewart is showing that there is room at the top for more than one superstar. She's encouraging the next generation to dream big, to work hard, and to believe that they, too, can be great. There's something poetic about all of this. Stewart, the established star, recognizing the brilliance of a younger player, is a reminder that greatness doesn't happen in isolation. It's built on the backs of those who came before and those who push you to be better. Stewart's announcement was more than just words. It was a passing of the torch, a signal that the future of women's basketball is in capable hands. This announcement wasn't just a momentary blip in the sports news cycle. It was a declaration, a celebration, and a challenge all rolled into one. Breanna Stewart, ever the professional, knows what it takes to be great, and in Caitlin Clark, she sees that same potential. It's a rare thing for someone at Stewart's level to so openly celebrate another player's rise. But that's what makes Stewart special. She's not just about winning games or collecting trophies. She's about elevating the sport, lifting others up, and ensuring that women's basketball continues to grow. As the season progresses and Clark continues to dazzle on the court, you can bet that Stewart will be watching closely. There's a certain beauty in competition, in watching someone else push the boundaries of what's possible. And for Stewart, who has spent her entire career doing just that, watching Clark rise must be a thrilling experience. It's as if Stewart is looking into a mirror, seeing a younger version of herself full of fire, determination, and raw talent. Stewart's announcement may have been about Clark, but in many ways, it was also about Stewart herself. It was a reminder of her own greatness, of her ability to recognize talent, and her willingness to help others shine. In a world where athletes are often pitted against each other, where rivalries can sometimes overshadow respect, Stewart's words were refreshing. They were a reminder that competition doesn't have to be cutthroat. It can be about mutual admiration, about pushing each other to be better, about celebrating greatness in all its forms. As for what happens next, well, that's the exciting part. Clark is still early in her career, with so much left to prove. But with Stewart's endorsement, the expectations have undoubtedly been raised. People will be watching, waiting to see if Clark can live up to the hype. But if Stewart's words are any indication, there's little doubt that she can. And who knows, maybe one day, Clark will be the one making similar announcements about the next generation of players, continuing the cycle of greatness that Stewart has so gracefully embraced. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.